Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, we continue with Raganuga Bhakti, and today we'll read from this book, Waves of Devotion by Damodar Maharaj, which is the standard, we can say the standard study guide textbook for Nectar of Devotion in Mayapur, in the Mayapur Institute. So please don't be confused. I'm going to read some things that you don't find in Nectar of Devotion by Srila Prabhupada.
But we will quote Srila Prabhupada at the same time.
Yes.
Maybe just a short review how we came to Raganuga Bhakti. Again, dear devotees, we discussed what is the difference in the book, in the beginning of the book, between material rasa and spiritual rasa, and we took the definition of devotional service and pure devotional service. If you remember, there was 3 characteristics for devotional service and 2 extra characteristics for pure devotional service. Can you help me with this one? Which are the 3 characteristics for devotional service, so that one activity is called devotional service? The activity should be made in a favorable mood. Do you remember? Hare Krishna.
Not clear, Prabhuji, a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. But
Yeah, we can hear you, Prabhuji.
recall. Yeah, cannot recall.
In
We
order,
hear you.
in order one activity to be devotional service, it should be made with a favorable mood. Yes? It should be done for who? For the pleasure of who?
Krishna.
Correct? And it should be done according to which authority?
Previous acharyas.
Yes, Shastra and the previous acharyas. This will make the activity bhakti or pure devotional or devotional service. So it should be for Krishna, it should be according to the authority of Shastra and acharyas, and should be with favorable mood, the desire to please Krishna. And now, in order this activity, this devotional service to become pure devotional service, we need 2 more things, which are our activity should be free from.
They should be free from bhukti and mukti and siddhi.
Okay, should be free from karma and jnana, yes, and also should be free from any kind of, what kind of desire? Material desires. Very good. If we have material desires, we can do bhakti, but we cannot do pure bhakti. So this is the definition of Rupa Goswami. After that, we gave definitions what is sadhana bhakti, and we explained that sadhana bhakti means engaging our senses in practical activities for Krishna, and the goal of this is to focus our mind on Krishna. This is the idea of sadhana bhakti, or the daily schedule that we are following. All these things that we are doing during the day, the goal is to be able to focus our mind on Krishna. And then we spoke that there are 2 varieties or 2 kinds of sadhana bhakti. So one is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, means a sadhana that we are following mainly through following rules and regulations. And Raganuga sadhana bhakti, which is spontaneous devotional service. So until now, from chapter 2 to chapter 14, we were discussing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. What are the different rules and regulations that we have to follow under the order of Guru and Shastra in order to achieve Krishna consciousness? And we were saying that there are mainly 64 of those, and out of them, the first 3 are like the beginning of our Krishna conscious life, means to accept the Guru, to surrender our life to Guru, take initiation from him and render service to the Guru. This is the beginning of our spiritual life. And then we spoke that there are 5 most potent limbs or angas or activities of bhakti. And which were these 5? Now you have to help me also with them.
Hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. What else?
Chanting Mahamantra.
Chanting the holy name.
Residing in Mathura,
Residing in Mathura, in the holy place.
Vrindavan,
Yeah. And 2 more.
associating with advanced devotees,
Sadhu Sangha. And 1 more.
serving deities, worshipping deities.
Worshipping the deities. Thank you very much. Yes. So these are the 5 most potent angas of bhakti. Why most potent? Because even slight engagement in them can very easily bring bhava or spontaneous ecstatic attraction to Krishna, even in a neophyte devotee. This is the power of these 5. So this is what we were discussing till now. Now we are going to discuss the second kind of sadhana bhakti, which is known as Raganuga sadhana. Today, this will be the topic that we are going to discuss.
So, what was the qualification to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? Do you remember?
Accepting a spiritual master.
This is an item of the first item of the practice. But in order to accept the spiritual master, you need a qualification. What is the qualification? Shraddha, Jai, faith. So if you remember, the qualification for Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is Shraddha or faith. That means faith in Shastra. So this is the only qualification required. And also, if you remember, we discussed that one shouldn't be too attached to material sense gratification, because this will disqualify him. Even if he has little Shraddha, if he's too attached to sense enjoyment, he won't be able to practice Vaidhi Sadhana. So he shouldn't be too attached, and also he shouldn't be too detached, too renounced, because if he's too detached, then this will qualify him not for Bhakti, not for Vaidhi, but for Jnana. And how is this qualification acquired? Do you remember? How do you acquire the qualification for practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti?
Or Shraddha.
Yeah.
How do we get Shraddha?
How do you attain
faith?
Shraddha?
I think I'd be speculating if I answer it.
Uh-huh.
But it's
Let's
okay if I
see.
can speculate.
Let's see your speculation.
Okay, it's Kripa.
It is
What is-
Kripa, but through who we are getting this Kripa?
The advanced devotee. Hearing from the advanced devotee.
And if he's not advanced,
He's not advanced.
let's say you meet somebody on the street and he tells you he's just some guy, but he tells you about Krishna, Hare Krishna. He tells you Hare Krishna mantra. He's not advanced. So. But then you
Take up the
somehow-
process and become a devotee.
The
So that
hearing
means hearing from
a devotee.
devotee.
Because many devotees, they became devotees because they met some Bhakta Jose somewhere on the sidewalk, or smoking marijuana together or whatever. He was not even following the principles, and he told him about the Hare Krishna movement, and he became devotee. So, okay, so we get this Shraddha by the mercy of the devotees. This is called Agyata Sukriti. That means somebody made the endeavor to preach to organize Harinam, to distribute books, to distribute prasadam, to organize Ratha Yatra, or to have a temple, or anything that is connected to Krishna. And we, in previous lives, we were, or in this life also, we were engaged in Agyata Sukriti. What is Agyata Sukriti? Do you remember? Dhananjay Prabhu, do you remember what is Agyata Sukriti?
No, Prabhu, sorry about it.
Sorry?
No, I don't remember.
Gyata means jnana.
Yeah, no.
That means
Yeah,
knowledge.
again.
Agyata
Yeah.
means
Without knowing.
without knowing, exactly. So that's Agyata Sukriti. So that means
Right.
we go on the street and there is a Harinam. And
Yeah.
we hear the Hare Krishna mantra.
Mhm.
So we are not
Without knowing.
without knowing. Or somebody gives us
Yes.
prasadam, we don't know that this is prasadam, but we take it.
Yes.
So when this Agyata Sukriti,
Agatha.
Agyata Sukriti, when it unconscious devotional service, when it
Right.
accumulates birth after birth after birth. When it
Mhm.
reaches the crucial point, then we develop Shraddha. And then we can take the process of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. So this is the qualification, Shraddha, and this is the way to attain it, by the mercy of the devotees. And now we're moving to the next stage of sadhana, which is called Raganuga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Dandavat Pranam. So Raganuga Bhakti is devotional practice that strives to cultivate the moods of Krishna's associates in Vrindavan. So Raga Anuga means to follow in the footsteps. It follows the Raga. So it's a process of following the advanced devotees, the perfect devotees from Vrindavan, especially from Goloka Vrindavan. So Raganuga means that we try to imbibe the same mood as the devotees from Goloka Vrindavana, the people from Krishna's village, basically, from Goloka, from Gokula. And before we can describe Raganuga, before we give a definition for Raganuga, first, obviously, we have to describe the type of devotion and the devotees that are the role models for the Raganugas. Does this make any sense?
Yes.
All right. So these devotees are called Ragatmika Bhaktas. Raganuga means to follow the Ragatmika devotees. So what is Ragatmika?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll...
So basically, yes, the point is that if we are going to follow someone, first we have to know who we are following. So now first we have to discuss who are we following, and then we will discuss what is the process to follow these personalities.
So there is a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 22:154. Devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So these are the Ragatmikas, the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving service. Another verse, this is Madhya Lila, again Madhya Lila 22:150. When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his natural inclination of love is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. That is called transcendental attachment, and devotional service according to that attachment is called Ragatmika, or spontaneous devotional service. So, to explain it simply, Raga means very deep thirst to attain your object of desire. And Atmaka means the very essence, Atma, of the person who has this Raga.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, could you please repeat one more time?
Okay. Yes. Raga means one whose very essence or Atma
Is love of Krishna.
is, yes, love of Krishna, intense attachment for Krishna or Raga. So the very essence of this person is intense affection, devotion, love for Krishna. This is Ragatmika. These are the special devotees from Vrindavan.
These are the perfect souls in the spiritual world, the eternal associates of Krishna, like the gopis, Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, the cowherd boys, friends of Krishna. All these personalities eternally residing. Sorry? All these personalities eternally residing in the spiritual world, these are Ragatmikas.
Especially in Vrindavan. So we should make this distinction. So when we speak about Ragatmika Bhaktas, we mean only the residents of Goloka Vrindavan. We don't speak about Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, or even Mathura.
Why? Can you explain?
Because of this spontaneous element of serving Krishna as impelled by the sweetness of Krishna's qualities in opposing to serving Krishna when you are conscious about his majesty, his opulence, his powers, etc. So this is the purest example of the purest form of this sweetness or madhurya is found in Goloka Vrindavana, in the relationship between Vrajavasis and Krishna. Therefore, it's when we speak about Ragatmika, we mean only Vrindavan.
So basically, devotees who have predominantly a relationship with Krishna on the basis of rules and regulations, awe and reverence, their love is not spontaneous.
Yes, it is spontaneous in the sense that they spontaneously serve Krishna because they love him. They also have prema, even in Vaikuntha. But their prema is somewhat weakened by their being aware of Krishna's that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it cannot. There are certain limits that they will not cross. He's always the Lord. They can never be equal to the Lord. The servant in a dasya rasa, he can never be equal to the master. While we see in Vrindavan, already on the level of Sakya, the friends of Krishna are equals, and his parents are superior, actually. And
gopis are even more superior.
They're the most advanced devotees. Okay. So we going to read.
So Prabhuji, just one thing. I mean, Vrindavan, just to understand, there is no difference between the Vrindavan in India and the Goloka Vrindavan ultimately. But if I try to get the distinction, so how do I understand like that the presence of Krishna 500 years ago in Vrindavan, the cowherd boys was the equal quality or equal spontaneous love with Krishna, and the Goloka Vrindavan and I mean, those are the same?
Yes, exactly the same. Although, so when we read 10th canto of Bhagavatam, this is a description of the spiritual world, right?
Yes.
Krishna, when we read Krishna book, it describes the spiritual world, but technically it is a description of Bhauma Vrindavan, Lila, right? It describes Krishna's pastimes here 5,000 years ago, but it is the spiritual world. So we don't make a distinction. It is the same. Although the Acharyas explained that there are some slight differences. For example, here in Bhauma Vrindavan, Krishna is born. and he grows. He's an infant, then he becomes Paugama, Kaumara, Kaishora. In the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavana, there is no birth. Krishna doesn't get birth there, but there are stories how he was born. So it's the same, because there, the description, I mean, here also, but there they actually realize it spontaneously. The descriptions of Krishna's pastimes are reality. And also, so there are some specific features that actually the Acharyas explained, that the Bhauma Vrindavana, the pastimes here, they are in a way superior to the pastimes in Goloka Vrindavana, because of these small, sweet details that actually here Krishna takes birth and grows and stuff like that. But it is the spiritual world. It is the same. The same people are there and here.
So for them, they are like always in youth, right? There is no old age or like childhood or boyhood.
For them here or for them there?
For them there. So they're always in youth mode, right?
Yes. Although, if we read the descriptions of spiritual world in the books like Gopal Champu or other books by the Acharyas, Lalita Madhava, Vidagdha Madhava, for example, there are descriptions of old people there, like Jatila, Kutila. These are old ladies. Krishna's grandfather. These are old persons, but they're old in the sense that their mood is such that in order to express this mood, they need to have these bodies, because the spiritual body follows the mood of the devotee. So it is not in any way limiting them. It is not a material burden like here in the material world. It is just facilitates their emotion, their love for Krishna. You cannot be you cannot be parent. You cannot have parental rasa with Krishna and have body of smaller, like younger cowherd boy, or it doesn't fit. So they have to have these bodies. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
So Srila Jiva Goswami explains the definition of we just read the definition of Ragatmika. So he says Ishte, because the definition is Ishte Swarasiki Raga Paramava Stata Bhavet. So Ishte refers to the person towards whom one has loving sentiments. This is Krishna. And Swarasiki means natural or spontaneous. And Paramavistata means extreme engrossment. Actually means thirst intrinsic to prema. So that means there is no other object of attention besides Krishna. Of course, the devotees are also there, but they're all connected to Krishna. So these people, we want to follow these people, that they have this perfect love for Krishna. Following these people, following their footsteps, these devotees, it is called Raganuga Bhakti. And these great devotees are called Ragatmikas. Okay? So we get this now, Ragatmika and Raganuga. You understand the difference?
Now you tell us, what is Ragatmika and what is Raganuga?
The devotees of Vrindavan have a spontaneous love for Krishna. They are Ragatmika Bhakta because their bhakti comes naturally. It's like kind of built in.
Yes.
In my understanding, that's Ragatmika.
And what is Raganuga Bhakta?
Raganuga Bhakta is like they follow explain.
They're following who?
Help me.
Who?
Help me.
They're following the Ragatmika Bhaktas.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we have the perfect Bhaktas, perfect devotees in the spiritual world. And we have the devotees like us here in the material world, which are sadhakas. We are still following sadhaka. But gradually we start to aspiring to follow in the footsteps of these great advanced perfect devotees. So we are known as Raganugas at some point, and the completely perfect devotees in the spiritual world, they are known as Ragatmika Bhaktas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another way, I mean, just one thing is like to get clear, like who are like Ragatmika, they were not Ragatmika right away. That means like they have passed all the, I mean, activities previously. That means they passed all the tests. They already practiced. They have a successful with everything. Then they became Ragatmika. Not, and we are like practicing, so we are in the Raganuga.
Okay, there are two types of Ragatmika Bhaktas. One's, there are persons who are eternally perfect Nitya Siddha devotees, like Nanda, Yashoda, Radharani, cowherd boys, Sudama, Sridama, Subala, etc. And there are persons who attain through sadhana, through the mercy of the devotees, the mercy of Krishna, they attained the same level, and they became Ragatmika. They went back home, back to Godhead. So in the spiritual world, once you attain back your eternal service and eternal relationship with Krishna and
Eternal form.
and prema, Krishna prema, once you attain Krishna prema and you are back there, these Nitya Siddha devotees, they don't make this, they don't make distinction between Nitya Siddhas and those who have attained through sadhana. So there is no distinction. So it's not like you become an American citizen, but you still, because you have different color, people like you're second class. There is no such thing in Goloka. Okay, so there are two types.
Same platform.
Same platform. No distinction. So, so Tulsi wants to read something, or maybe just
Yeah, we can read little from Nectar of Devotion just to keep up. 15th chapter, beginning. Examples of spontaneous devotional service can be easily seen in Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Ragatmika. These beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulative principles and have achieved the spontaneous loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives.
so.
That's the point.
So when the cowherd boys they play with Krishna, they have the proper mood. Therefore, they are in this position. When in the morning, their mothers they give them their lunch packs. Every cowherd boy has this. When they go, they have this. They get prasadam from their mothers. Their mother, first of all, the mothers, they give the best preparation to their sons, and they specifically tell them, please share this with Krishna, the best one. And when there is a time to take lunch, Krishna often he personally serves all the cowherd boys. He's serving them, and if something happens with the cows, for example, they don't know where they are, Krishna tells them, please take your meal and I'll go very quickly and find them. You don't interrupt your meal. So he serves first to everybody, then he goes and fetches the cows, and he does all these meal services for his friends. So, and when the cowherd boys, they want to offer to share their food with Krishna. So when they offer, Krishna would like to take from my mother gave me this nice pakora or samosa or this nice ladu. They do it with such love and affection that Krishna cannot refuse. So this is the meaning of the day they went through all this purification, and they are qualified to play with Krishna. Because when you give something, when you offer service to Krishna, it should be with pure heart, wholeheartedly, without any reservation. Not like in the material world, we offer something, but if it's something very valuable, we are thinking, well, maybe should I offer this? Or maybe I keep this for me and I offer this that is not my favorite. So this is what it means. These are simple things, but they're not so they're not so easy to attain as a purity of consciousness.
Mhm. So just to finish, they have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna and his dear friends. Their spontaneous attitude is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami has defined Ragatmika Bhakti as spontaneous attraction for something while completely absorbed in thoughts in it, with the intense desire of love.
So this complete attraction is independent from the thinking, feeling, from the intelligence. It is spontaneous. You don't, like by seeing the object, you don't think, oh, this is the highest object. This is Krishna, or this is the holy name. I must be attracted to it. I don't feel attraction right now, but I should try to become attracted. It's not like that. It is automatically, spontaneously, like when you see rasagula or gulab jamun, prasadam, you spontaneously attracted to it. You don't have to think, oh, this is prasadam, I must, no, you just go for it, So something like this. So this is Ragatmika.
Ragatmika.
Here, to understand, and we can put an example. Is it like closer, like when Krishna just pretended he had a headache, and he was asking for the,
Medicine?
sand, yeah, the sands, or from the Braja Gopika, no, from Vrindavan, or somehow he wanted to get rid of this headache, and then and gopis like gave their feet, the dhulikana, and
Dust.
nobody else
Dust.
dared to give them. Yeah, dust. Nobody else dared to give them because they always felt like they're inferior and not to qualify. But gopis didn't even think that. They thought like we are trying to feel and please Krishna and feel. Make him out of this headache or get rid of this headache. Cured him. So they give like without thinking, like it's going to be aparad or something. So that kind of thing is the Ragatmika.
Yes, good example. Spontaneous.
Devotional service under the heading of Ragatmika can be further divided into two categories. One category is called sensual attraction and the other is called relationship.
Okay, now we have this division of Ragatmika. Sensual attraction, Prabhupada translates the term Kama Rupa, and relationship is a translation of the term used by Rupa Goswami, Sambandha Rupa. So there are two types of Ragatmika Bhaktas. Kama Rupa means the gopis.
The love of the gopis.
Yes, the love of the gopis. And Sambandha Rupa means basically anybody else, all others.
In Vrindavan. That would mean the parents of Krishna,
friends, the servants.
The servants of Krishna, all other kinds of love.
So Sambandha Rupa means relationship. Sambandha is relationship. And Kama is also relationship, conjugal relationship, but because it is most important and because it's the most intense and includes all other relationships, therefore it is in its special category. Okay? So we're not going to go into much detail about this, just please remember, Ragatmika Bhaktas are divided into Kama Rupa and Sambandha Rupa. So Kama Rupa, there is a discussion in Tulsi Prabhu, now we will read, because Kama is translated usually as lust. So in order not to confuse the material lust with Kama Rupa of the spiritual affection
of the gopis,
the Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, they want to make sure that we don't make this mistakes, so now we will read something on this.
The lusty, this is page 122, the last paragraph. The lusty attitude of the gopis does not refer to any sort of sex indulgence. So the love of the gopis cannot be compared with any kind of material love. Sri Rupa Goswami explains that this lusty desire refers to the devotee's particular attitude of association with Krishna. Every devotee in his perfectional stage has a spontaneous attraction for the Lord. This attraction is sometimes called lusty desire of the devotee. The lust is the devotee's excessive desire to serve the Lord in a particular capacity. Such a desire may seem to be a desire for enjoying the Lord, but actually the endeavor is to serve the Lord in that capacity. For example, a devotee may be desiring to associate with the personality of Godhead as his coward friend. He will want to serve the Lord by assisting him in controlling the cows in the pasturing ground. This may appear to be a desire to enjoy the company of the Lord, but actually it is a spontaneous love, serving him by assisting in managing the transcendental cows. So yeah, basically the idea is that the love of the gopis, it may look like a selfish love, but actually is totally pure and transcendental. It is called kamarupa or lusty desire just to show the intensity of this love. As we know that one of the most strong emotions we can experience in the material world is this lusty sexual feelings. That's why the love of the gopis is compared with this, just to show the intensity of their pure transcendental love for Krishna. That is the reason why this word is used, kama rupa. And two examples are given to prove that their love is totally transcendental. One example is Uddhava, who was extremely elevated devotee. It is said that Uddhava was so close to Krishna, he was meditating so much, so intensely on Krishna that his body was externally representing exactly, was looking like the body of Krishna. He had this similar color, he was looking very similar to Krishna. So Uddhava, he was glorifying many, many times the glories of the gopis. So the point is that if that was just a material love, why Uddhava, who is such a great devotee, would glorify the love of the gopis? So this is a proof that the love of the gopis is totally pure and transcendental. And the second example given is with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was transcendentalist, and he was extremely strict sannyasi, so strict that it was not allowed the ladies to come even closer to him. They had to pay obeisances from a big distance. And still, he was very eager to listen about the love of the gopis with Krishna. So again, this proves that these activities are totally transcendental and pure. They don't have anything to do with material lust.
And why they're pure? Because the desire of the gopis is to satisfy the sense of Krishna. They don't want their own personal pleasure. Krishna forces this personal enjoyment on them. So they get it, but they don't want it. This is not their desire. Their intent is just to please Krishna. And therefore they're making so much endeavor to decorate their bodies, to look beautiful, etc.
We can read one more paragraph in this regard. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Krishnadas, has explained the distinction between lusty desire and the service attitude in this statement. Lusty desire refers to the desire to gratify one's personal senses. A transcendental desire refers to the desire for serving the senses of the Lord. In a material world, there is no such thing as lovers wanting to please the senses of his beloved. Actually, in the material world, everyone wants mainly to gratify his own personal senses. The gopis, however, wanted nothing at all but to gratify the senses of the Lord, and there is no instance of this in the material world. Therefore, the gopis' ecstatic love for Krishna is sometimes described by scholars as being like the lusty desire of the material world. But actually, this should not be taken as a literal fact. It is simply a way of trying to understand the transcendental situation.
Okay, and now something very interesting. Sometimes it seems that the residents of Vrindavan, they act for their own pleasure, for their own happiness. But this is also not egoistic, self-centered activity. It is rather motivated by their awareness that Krishna wants them to be happy. So Krishna wants his devotees to be happy. So therefore, sometimes the devotees, they make endeavor to be happy, just to please Krishna. Now, this is a little subtle point, and we shouldn't use this as an excuse. One example can be given. You remember this story when the cowherd boys, they wanted to eat these fruits from the Talavan forest, where this Dhenukasura was residing.
As demon.
Yeah, and it appears that they wanted something for themselves. Oh, Krishna, oh, Rama, please. We want to go to this forest and eat the sweet fruits. Oh, but it is not selfish. It is, first of all, they wanted Krishna and Balaram to enjoy these fruits. And sometimes the devotees, as Dangaram Maharaj explains, they want to be happy because this will make Krishna happy. It is a little strange for us, but this is the reality in the spiritual world. All right, so please tell me now, I want to ask you, so far we have been discussing what? What is the topic of discussion until now?
Ragatmika
Yes.
and Raganuga.
Yes, Ragatmika.
And Ragatmika and Raganuga, and also there are two types of quality, which is one is lusty desire, one is the other one is called a relationship.
Yes, okay.
For Ragatmika, there are two. One is like sensual attraction, and the other one is called relationship. In the sensual attraction, it comes like in the material. We cannot compare actually, but it could be an example. The way one person for any kind of sensual satisfaction personally feel, but for the spiritually, it is not for personal, it's all for Krishna. So the way gopis, all the sensual satisfaction goes to Krishna's credit for Krishna. It's nothing to themselves. But whereas in materially, we always try to do ourselves. So this is sensual. And the relationship was given example, Mother Joshua, Nanda Maharaj, and other cowherd boys, and those are the relationship. So there are two different types, and it's given different quote from one from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, given one of the example also for that about the sensual things. So that's mostly was given here.
Very good, thank you. We just want to make sure that we are on track and we remember what
it's understandable.
Yeah. So now we spoke about Ragatmika. So now we'll discuss Raganuga. Raganuga means to follow the raga, the affection, the love, the example of these great, perfect devotees from Vrindavan. So how do we? So we mentioned that what was the qualification of to follow Vaidhi? the qualification to follow Vaidhi was to have Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. The qualification was to have Shraddha, faith. So now, what is the qualification to follow Raganuga?
Who is eligible candidate?
So
Who can do this practice?
yes.
We can read what Srila Prabhupada is saying. This
Who is
is
fully surrendered?
This is chapter 16, second paragraph, eligibility for spontaneous devotional service. Page 125. Persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Vrishnis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees.
So in this, just to make a short note, in this paragraph, Vrishnis, usually Vrishnis,
Is heritage, Vishnu Bangsho.
yeah, usually Vrishnis refers to Dvaraka Vasis, to Yadavas. You know, this is part of the Yadu dynasty. But here it refers to Goloka Vrindavan residents, because they are also connected to they're also relatives. They're like, you can say they're the greater family of the Vrishnis also, because Nanda Baba, Vasudeva, they're connected. They're from this family. So Vrishnis means Vrajavasis here, not Dvarakavasis or Mathuravasis.
So persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Vrishnis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain to the perfection of those devotees. These Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulative principles of devotional service very strictly, but by spontaneous nature they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees such as Nanda or Yashoda, and they try to follow in their footsteps spontaneously. There is a gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee, and this activity is called Raganuga. We must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Vraja is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. In following the regulative principles of devotional service, there is a stage called Anartha Nivriti, which means the disappearance of all material contamination. Sometimes someone is found imitating such devotional love, but factually he is not freed from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that the so-called devotee proclaims himself a follower of Nanda, Yashoda, or the gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. Such a manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the gopis, there will be found no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. Therefore, in the beginning, everyone should strictly follow the regulative principles of devotional service according to the injunctions of the scriptures and the spiritual master. This is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Only after the stage of liberation from material contamination can one actually aspire to follow in the footsteps of the devotees in Vrindavan.
Okay, so we start to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Then we advance through Shraddha, then Sadhusanga, then Bhajana Kriya, then Anartha Nivriti, and then Nishta. So by the time when we attain Nishta, it is we are supposedly liberated from the gross anarthas to some extent. And from this stage onwards, it is possible for us to develop spontaneous attraction to the love and the service displayed by one of these great devotees in Vrindavan. So by listening Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing about Krishna's pastimes, by reading Krishna book, in due course of time, when we are purified, then our natural love will start to awaken and will be attracted spontaneously to certain pastimes, certain mood, yes, certain mood which is displayed in certain pastimes. It is to become very natural. And gradually we will develop what is called loba. Loba is greed. The basic qualification for Raganuga Bhakti is eagerness, loba, to achieve the service of particular Ragatmika devotee. So we will listen, let's say, about Nanda Baba and Yashoda, how they serve Krishna, and will spontaneously be attracted. And gradually we will, this attraction will become like a constant meditation for us. It will become natural. And then we can say,
Yes.
sorry?
Just to ask one question, I mean, to understand. Like in Vrindavan, always gopis also and all devotees and everybody always with like call Krishna. Krishna. In Vrindavan, they not following strictly. One way is another way. One thing is like they always call Radhe Radhe. Means like Radha is pleased. Means Radha is very dear to Krishna, and Krishna will accept their desire, and so they don't have to call Krishna directly. So how would you say, like, what type of I mean, how do they do this? This is the Raganuga also?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is, but Mahaprabhu, he told Raghunath Das Goswami when he was about to go to Vrindavan, he told him, do not associate very closely with the Vrajavasis because they are spontaneous devotees and they have their own bhava. So we respect them, but
we don't imitate them.
We don't imitate them. But what you described is can be Raganuga, can be directly Ragatmika Bhakti, because you don't know, these people, they can be very advanced. And if they have taken shelter in Radharani, they are in very special position, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that we are actually interested in Krishna only because she is interested in him. There is no other reason. So we actually, in a sense, Shaktas, because we worship the Shakti of the Lord. But these are very esoteric things. So right now we have Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. All right, thank you also. So so that's the process.
So yeah,
process.
basically the qualification for practicing Raganuga Bhakti is intense desire to follow in the footsteps of eternal devotees. But the problem is that we cannot develop this intense greed, intense desire until we have destructive and distracting desires in our heart. Because these desires, again and again, they turn our attention in other things, and our focus, our intensity cannot be so strong that this greed becomes so intense that we achieve.
So in other words, if you are not sure, am I already practicing Raganuga Bhakti or not, just look in your heart and see, you still have lusty desires, material. Like if you do, then you're not practicing Raganuga. You're still battling with.
We are still qualified for Vaidhi Sadhana.
Yeah.
And when our heart becomes pure, then, as Pandava Prabhu was saying, naturally, spontaneously, some affection for particular pastimes and mood of pastimes will appear in our heart.
Of course, doesn't mean that we cannot start to feel certain attraction. Meanwhile, while we still are contaminated, it is possible, but it's not the full blown Raganuga Bhakti practice. So here is something very important, because we hear that Raganuga devotees, they are above the rules. So we have to understand this very carefully. What is the meaning of this? Above the regulative principles means that the Raganuga Bhaktas, they're not dependent on scriptural injunctions for their inspiration to serve Krishna. So we are dependent on Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam aham tvam sarva papa moksha shalima shuchaha manmana bhava madbhakto. This is our motivation most of the time, the order of Krishna and Guru. So in this sense, we are not above, we are under the scriptural injunctions, but
Dependent on
we
them.
depend on them for our motivation, but they are above the scriptural injunctions, not
Not
No.
that they don't follow them.
yeah, but their motivation is different. They are motivated by the natural, spontaneous attraction and greed that they experience by listening about the special, sweet pastimes between certain devotees and Krishna. So this is their motivation. All right. The Raganuga Bhaktas, they're actually strict, very strict sadhakas. They are more strict than the Vaidhi Bhaktas. Because why? Because they have the taste now. They like to follow the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. They like to chant.
They like to go on time for Mangalarati.
No, they'll be before Mangalarati, long before. And they'll be waiting earnestly to see Radha Govinda in the temple. The difference is that they spontaneously are attracted to certain aspects, certain processes of bhakti more than the others. Doesn't mean that they don't chant their rounds or they don't follow the sadhana. No, but they do everything. But in their own internal devotional world, they have already discovered their own place, basically. Like, you know, sometimes the devotees, they join the Hare Krishna movement, and for a long time they don't find their place. Like, what is my service? He's in the kitchen, then he goes to Sankirtan, then he does Harinam, and then he goes to this temple, to that temple, this program, that. See, the devotees, they sometimes cannot find their place. But then we see devotees who are established, they know their place. Okay, I'm a book distributor. So he's happily distributing books. Or something similar with the Raganuga devotees. So so anyway, what is the Raganuga sadhana? It is the same as the sadhana that Srila Prabhupada gave us, the same thing. Just additionally, these devotees, they meditate, they remember certain pastimes for which they have spontaneous attraction, and they meditate how they do service in their Siddha Deha, in their spiritual body, according to following in the footsteps of this particular devotee that they aspire to serve and to attain his mood or her mood. In our Sampradaya, it's more like her mood. Most of our acharyas are manjaris. So, and the acharyas explain, the Raganuga devotees, they should reside in Vrindavan physically. If not possible, they should meditate how they do service in Vrindavan. So part of the day they'll be engaged in the service in the temple, or they'll go
Strictly
out.
they will do their sadhana.
So, and part of the day they'll dedicate to meditation. But they will not do this, they will never do this openly, so that people, I mean, that's one thing. How do you meditate openly? I don't know how you do that. But I guess it's possible. So the thing is that Prabhupada makes this very clear, and Acharyas also. They will not let you know that they're on this level.
Externally, you cannot.
You cannot. Once they're on this level, they will protect this this mood, this achievement with utmost care, and basically nobody knows what's happening. They will, because this is like you discover your hidden wealth. Like a greedy person, you are very careful that people don't understand. They don't know about this, because when people discover that some of these devotees he is very advanced, they will they will worship him. There will be lots of noise around, and he doesn't like this.
They don't want to draw that attention.
Yeah. So if you see somebody that he's like demonstrating how he's practicing Raganuga Bhakti, you should know that he's not on this level. He's imitating. That's the verdict of the Shastra.
One such example that we have is sometimes in India you can see devotees who externally dressed as a Raganuga devotees, means a man who dressed in a sari in order to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. Now, this is not our understanding. Our understanding is externally we act as a sadhaka, yes? Bhaktaji is acting as Bhaktaji, Tulsidas is acting as Tulsidas. But internally we may meditate on the mood of the gopis, selfless mood of the gopis, how they are serving selflessly to Krishna, how we want to develop the same mood that they have. Now, these people, they take it in a different way. They take this practice that it means not just internally you have to meditate on this, but externally you have to become gopi immediately. But they are not on this level. Their heart is not as pure as the heart of the gopis. But still, externally, they put this
Well,
show.
even if they're on that level, I mean, our acharyas, they didn't give this
They
example.
never did.
Raghunath Das Goswami, he didn't dress in a sari, although he was already in the past, he
was
Nitya Siddha.
Manjari. But
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he didn't dress in a sari. But
So-
Prabhupada didn't.
if we see this, we should know that something is wrong there. And also another wrong understanding about the spontaneous Raganuga platform is that, as it was said here, Raganuga Bhaktas, they are not dependent on the rules and regulations. Sometimes devotees, they can take it in a sense that, Prabhu, can you please wash the pots? Oh no, because I'm not anymore dependent on the ordinary rules and regulations. So whenever I feel, I'm on a spontaneous platform already. So whenever I feel, I will come and wash them. And if I don't feel, because I'm very much absorbed in our internal mood of service to Radha and Krishna, then I won't do it. You find some other Kanishta devotee, neophyte, he will do this thing. I'm already on a different level, very high. Something is wrong with this mood. We never saw Srila Prabhupada
Not something, everything is wrong.
or Rupa Goswami or Raghunath Das to act in this way. No, they were extremely strict about the mission, propagating the mission, performing their duties, giving always extremely good example to all the Vaishnavas. Like Srila Prabhupada, it's not that he was saying, oh, because now I'm and he was definitely not just Raganuga Bhakta, he was a Ragatmika Bhakta. He never said, oh, today I'll sleep till 9 o'clock because I have spontaneous attraction in my heart. Never. Extremely strict, just to give always perfect example to all the neophyte devotees like us. So this is other wrong understanding about Raganuga. Raganuga means not following, not dependent on the rules and regulations, means whenever you want, you follow them, whenever you want, you don't follow them. No, this is wrong. What Pandava Prabhu was explaining, that non-dependent means his motivation for action doesn't depend on the rules and regulations. Because his motivation is already spontaneous. He just already have extremely strong desire to serve Krishna.
But he still follows Shastra, and he still depends on Shastra because he reads Shastra in order to get nourishment for his Raganuga Bhakti activities. He listens to Krishna's pastimes. And in order to get to this level, he had followed Shastra.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are looking, Raganuga Bhakti is mostly goes the credit on gopis. Gopi, the way they serve Krishna is like type of Raganuga, and other is Raganuga also we did two different type. One is like sensual, another was relationship, right? So we cannot say only gopis is the Raganuga. We also can say what Nanda Maharaj or just Yashoda Mata did for Krishna. That is also Raganuga. but that could be relationship one, and another one could be
Yes.
sensual, right?
Yes,
So,
it's Ragatmika, and if we follow in their footsteps, then we are Raganuga. And
so,
yes, right, there are two types, Kamarupa and Sambandha Rupa.
so it's not then like the devotees definitely they are wrong. They acting like even externally being a gopi to serve Krishna. So anybody, even internally, if we want to serve, we can act as a gopi, like how gopi did serve to Krishna. Same way we can do as a father also to serve Krishna every morning. He's going there and he's coming back on time and he's all needed, and even Mother Yashoda. So it is different direction. We can do the Raganuga. We can think about Raganuga Bhakti,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's not only gopi. It's
No.
not only father and mother of Krishna in our. So okay, so it could be different direction. Okay, all
Anything,
is the mood, matter of mood. Nothing is external.
Let's read Nectar of Devotion, how Rupa Goswami is describing Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. This is page 126, the third paragraph. It is said by Sri Rupa Goswami, when one is actually liberated from material contamination, he can always remember the eternal devotee in Vrindavan in order to love Krishna in the same capacity. So this eternal devotee of Vrindavan can be a gopi, can be the mother or father of Krishna, can be a friend of Krishna, but it's Vrindavan pastimes. And developing such an aptitude, one will always live in Vrindavan, even within his mind. The purport is that if it is possible, one should go and physically be present at Vrajabhumi, Vrindavan, and be engaged always in the service of the Lord, following the devotees in Vrajadam, the spiritual realm of Vraja. If it is not possible, however, to be physically present at Vrindavan, one can meditate anywhere upon living in that situation. Wherever he may be, one must always think about life in Vrindavan Dham and about following in the footsteps of a particular devotee in the service of the Lord. A devotee who is actually advancing Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection. Pandava was speaking about this. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee as long as his material body is there. Activities in devotional service under regulative principles must be followed even by the pure devotees. But when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of the regulative service, so externally everything continues exactly the same way, think within himself of the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord, and develop his transcendental sentiments in following that associate. So basically, the whole Raganuga practice is internal thing. Externally, nothing is changing. Only the things are getting deeper and more intense in relationship with Krishna.
and by the way, Prabhupada formulates it, it seems that a person who is following Raganuga Bhakti, he will still do his, let's say, 6 hours service of in the temple. And he'll do all the things that he has to do. And on the top of it, he will do his Raganuga Sadhana. That means he will sleep less or eat less or something like that.
Yes.
Because he is already basically liberated.
On this level. In this connection, we should be careful about the so-called Siddha Pranali. The Siddha Pranali process is followed by a class of men who are not very authorized and who have manufactured their own way of devotional service. They imagine that they have become associates of the Lord simply by thinking of themselves like that. So they are not on this level. Their heart is not pure yet. We heard that the qualification to practice Raganuga is your heart should be pure from material contamination. Their heart is not pure, but they imagine that they are pure. So that's the problem. This external behavior is not at all according to the regulative principles. The so-called Siddha Pranali process is followed by the Prakrita Sahajas, a pseudo-sect of so-called Vaishnavas. In the opinion of Rupa Goswami, such activities are simply disturbances to the standard way of devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami says that learned acharyas recommend that we follow the regulative principles even after the development of spontaneous love for Krishna. According to the regulative principles, there are 9 departmental activities as described above, and one should specifically engage himself in the type of devotional service for which he has a natural aptitude. For example, one person may have a particular interest in hearing, another may have a particular interest in chanting, and another may have a particular interest in serving in the temple. So these or any of the other 6 different types of devotional service, remembering, serving, praying, engaging in some particular service, being in a friendly relationship, or offering everything in one's possession, should be executed in full earnestness. In this way, everyone should act according to his particular taste. So that's another feature of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, that a devotee, he starts liking very much particular kinds of devotional service because it nourishes more this internal relationship following certain devotee. So let's say before he was chanting, his sadhana was like the very basic sadhana, chanting 60 rounds, and let's say doing book distribution 4 hours a day or Harinam, and helping in the kitchen 2 hours and reading 2 hours. And suddenly he developed such a strong taste that he suddenly, instead of chanting 60 rounds, starts chant 32 or 64. Or he starts reading, instead of just reading Bhagavad Gita 1 hour, he starts reading book 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. His desire to increase some of the practices of devotional service comes into place. And all this is because his heart is purified and his internal relationship with Krishna becomes more and more visible. And that's why he's very much eager to increase his spiritual practice. Okay? So someone to practice Raga Nuga Sadhana Bhakti doesn't mean that he'll stop chanting his rounds, or he'll stop going to Mangalarati, or he'll stop doing service in the temple. No, as Pandava was saying. On the top of this, he'll do more, do extra. Because he has a taste, very strong taste. Which is chant a lot, he'll read a lot. That's the idea.
So Prabhuji, in that point, if that person start chanting 32, and he maybe work in kitchen every day 2 hours,
yes,
but his 2 hours goes there. So isn't in the discipline of the temple interrupt? So is that person not going to be called every time? Hey, you should do that service. Why you're not coming?
No, because nobody will understand. It is not that he will go and complain to the temple commander, oh, because I'm already extra qualified and now I reached the Raganuga platform. That's why please relieve me from my
Menial
kitchen service. He would never do that. He will act in such a way that nobody would understand that he's on this platform. He will go to Mangalarati, he'll chant his rounds, he'll go to Bhagavatam class, he'll do his service during the day, and when it becomes 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, he'll lock himself in his room, and everybody will think he went to sleep early, but rather he'll continue chanting another 2 hours or 3 hours, just because he's already on this level. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to sleep. He doesn't want to eat 5 times a day. He is experiencing something so
or
deep.
She, okay.
Or she. Sorry, forgive me.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
One thing I would say, Shastra always says he.
Okay.
The thing is that he, not because we don't appreciate.
Ultimately, the cutting the sleeping time and doing that could be another way. Not too much sleep.
So he, because all conditioned souls, they have desire to enjoy. So therefore, we all, Purusha, in a sense. So therefore, he. Women and men, we all design to enjoy.
When we are
Therefore,
saying
say,
he, we mean
we
both.
mean both sexes, okay? Not just.
But again, the idea is he is relishing something so nice and so deep that he's ready to cut off his material needs and just indulge more in chanting, in reading, in sharing the nectar, maybe with another devotee who is on this level.
Okay.
So, just to conclude, we said there are two kinds of Ragatmika devotees, Kama Rupa and Sambandha Rupa. So in this way, there are two kinds of Raganuga devotees who are following in their footsteps. So when someone is following the Kama Rupa devotees, he is called Kama Anuga. And when someone is following the Sambandha Rupa devotees, he is known as Sambandha Nuga. Very simple. So we have two kinds of Ragatmika devotees. That's why we have also two kinds of Raganuga devotees. So this is what Srila Rupa Goswami is giving us in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Srila Prabhupada very practically is describing it in Nectar of Devotion. This is information that we have for bona fide information for the practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Do you have some questions, dear devotees, about Raganuga at all? We don't have questions. Okay, so if we don't have questions, that's very good. I consider that everything is clear and you are completely ready for your test. So then the last time we'll finish with Nectar of Devotion will be Sunday. We'll have 2 sessions, and then we'll deal with the rest 3 chapters. We have left 17, 18, and 19 chapter. We'll discuss Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. This will be our final 2 discussions. So please read these chapters and see you in Sunday, hopefully in person, if not online.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Dhanyavad.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad pranam.
Okay.
Jai.
Jai. Brinda ki
Jai.
Gaura Premanande.